Are you lying awake for hours every night, your ADHD mind racing with thoughts, while everyone else falls asleep effortlessly? Do you wake up feeling exhausted even after getting 8 hours of sleep, struggling with worse ADHD symptoms throughout the day? What if I told you that 3 specific sleep habits you're probably doing right now are making your ADHD symptoms dramatically worse, creating a vicious cycle of poor sleep and impaired cognitive function that's sabotaging your daily life? These aren't just minor sleep issues. These 3 habits are actively working against your ADHD brain's natural sleep mechanisms, disrupting the neurotransmitter production you need for focus and attention, and creating chronic inflammation that worsens hyperactivity and impulse control. The most frustrating part is that these habits feel completely normal or even helpful, but they're actually hijacking your brain's ability to rest and recover properly. I'm Dr. Emily Thompson, and in my 12 years of working with ADHD patients who struggle with sleep disorders and daytime symptoms, I've discovered that these 3 sleep habits are the primary reason why so many people with ADHD feel like their symptoms are getting worse over time instead of better. Tonight could be the beginning of better sleep and dramatically improved ADHD symptoms, but only if you're willing to make some crucial changes to your bedtime routine. But first, I need you to be completely honest in the comments. How many hours does it typically take you to fall asleep? And how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Your answer will tell me everything about whether these destructive sleep habits are making your ADHD worse every single night. This video is specifically for you if you have ADHD and you're exhausted from fighting with sleep every single night while watching your symptoms get progressively worse during the day. Maybe you're someone who feels completely wired and alert the moment your head hits the pillow, even though you've been tired all day long. Perhaps your mind starts racing with work stress, tomorrow's tasks, random memories, or creative ideas the second you try to relax, making it impossible to quiet your thoughts and drift off peacefully. You might be someone who takes sleep medications, but still wakes up feeling groggy and unfocused, or you fall asleep eventually, but wake up multiple times throughout the night feeling anxious and restless. Maybe you've tried every sleep hygiene tip imaginable: blackout curtains, white noise machines, meditation apps, expensive mattresses, but nothing seems to work consistently for your hyperactive ADHD brain. Before we dive into these sleep-destroying habits and their immediate solutions, if you're already recognizing yourself in what I'm describing and you're desperate for better sleep that actually improves your ADHD symptoms, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps me reach more people with ADHD who are suffering from chronic sleep problems that worsen their daily functioning. And I promise you're going to get specific science-backed strategies that you can implement starting tonight. You might relate to feeling frustrated because sleep seems to come so naturally to everyone else while you're lying there for hours feeling like your brain has no off switch. Perhaps you've been told that sleep problems are just part of having ADHD and that you need to accept poor sleep as your reality. Maybe you've become dependent on sleep aids that leave you feeling worse the next day, or you've given up on quality sleep altogether and just try to function on minimal rest. The truth is, your ADHD brain has specific sleep needs that are dramatically different from neurotypical brains, especially when it comes to the neurotransmitters that regulate sleep cycles, the timing of melatonin production, and the way your nervous system transitions from alertness to relaxation. Traditional sleep advice often fails people with ADHD because it doesn't address the unique neurological patterns that make quality sleep so challenging for us. The 3 habits I'm about to reveal aren't just bad for sleep in general, they're specifically toxic to ADHD brain function and are probably making your daytime symptoms significantly worse. The first and most destructive sleep habit that's making your ADHD symptoms worse is using phones, tablets, computers, or televisions within 2 hours of your intended bedtime. This might seem like a harmless way to unwind or catch up on entertainment, but for ADHD brains, this habit is absolutely devastating to both sleep quality and next-day cognitive function. The blue light catastrophe. ADHD brains are already prone to delayed sleep phase syndrome, which means your natural circadian rhythm is shifted later than most people's. When you expose yourself to blue light from screens in the evening, you're essentially telling your brain that it's still daytime, which completely disrupts your already fragile melatonin production. Melatonin is the hormone that signals your brain to prepare for sleep, and people with ADHD often produce melatonin 1-2 hours later than neurotypical individuals. Blue light exposure in the evening can delay melatonin production by an additional 1 to 3 hours, meaning you might not start feeling truly sleepy until midnight, 1 a.m., or even later. This creates a vicious cycle where you're not tired at a reasonable bedtime, so you stay up using screens, which further delays your sleep, making you more tired and irritable the next day, which worsens your ADHD symptoms and makes it even harder to make good choices about screen time. Research specifically on ADHD and blue light exposure shows that people with ADHD who use screens before bed have significantly worse sleep quality, take longer to fall asleep, experience more sleep disruptions, and wake up feeling less rested compared to those who avoid screens in the evening. The dopamine overstimulation problem. Screens provide constant dopamine hits through notifications, likes, comments, videos, and rapidly changing content that keeps your already dopamine-deficient ADHD brain in a state of hyperarousal. Your brain becomes addicted to this stimulation, making it nearly impossible to transition to the calm, relaxed state necessary for sleep. Social media, video games, streaming services, and even reading on devices provide irregular, unpredictable rewards that trigger the same neural pathways involved in addiction. Your brain starts craving this stimulation, especially in the evening when dopamine levels naturally decline, creating a compulsive need to check devices that directly interferes with sleep preparation. The mental hyperactivity effect. Consuming information from screens before bed also fills your mind with thoughts, worries, plans, and random content that continues processing long after you turn off the device. ADHD brains already struggle with racing thoughts at bedtime, and screen use exponentially increases the mental chatter that keeps you awake. Whether you're reading work emails that trigger stress responses, watching news that creates anxiety, or consuming entertainment that stimulates your imagination, your brain continues processing this information for hours after screen exposure, making it extremely difficult to achieve the mental quiet necessary for sleep. The immediate solution: implement a strict digital sunset policy where all screens are turned off at least 2 hours before your intended bedtime. This includes phones, tablets, computers, televisions, and even e-readers with backlit screens. Use this time for calming, non-stimulating activities that support your brain's natural transition to sleep. Replace screen time with activities like reading physical books, gentle stretching, taking a warm bath, journaling with pen and paper, doing simple crafts, or practicing relaxation techniques. These activities help your brain wind down naturally, without the overstimulation that screens provide. If you absolutely must use devices in the evening, use blue light blocking glasses or install apps that filter blue light. But understand that this is not as effective as complete screen avoidance. The goal is to give your brain a complete break from digital stimulation so it can prepare properly for restorative sleep. The second sleep habit that's absolutely destroying your ADHD symptoms is going to bed and waking up at dramatically different times each day. This might seem like flexibility or adapting to your natural preferences, but irregular sleep schedules are particularly devastating for ADHD brains and create a cascade of problems that worsen every aspect of your condition. The circadian rhythm disaster. People with ADHD already have disrupted circadian rhythms compared to neurotypical individuals. Our internal body clocks are often delayed, irregular, or less responsive to environmental cues like light and darkness. When you compound this natural dysregulation with inconsistent sleep times, you create complete circadian chaos that affects every system in your body. Your circadian rhythm controls much more than just sleep. It regulates hormone production body temperature, blood pressure, alertness levels, and neurotransmitter synthesis throughout the day. When this rhythm is constantly disrupted by irregular sleep patterns, your brain can't produce optimal levels of dopamine, nor epinephrine and serotonin at the right times, leading to worse ADHD symptoms during waking hours. Research shows that people with ADHD who maintain irregular sleep schedules have significantly worse attention problems, more severe hyperactivity, increased impulsivity, and greater emotional dysregulation compared to those who keep consistent sleep times, even when total sleep duration is the same. The social jet lag effect. Irregular sleep patterns create what researchers call social jet lag, the misalignment between your biological clock and your social work schedule. This is like experiencing jet lag every few days without ever traveling, putting your body in a constant state of temporal confusion that's particularly harmful for ADHD brains. Social jet lag disrupts the timing of cortisol production, which should be highest in the morning to help you wake up and lowest at night to help you sleep. When your sleep schedule is irregular, cortisol production becomes chaotic, leading to difficulty waking up in the morning, afternoon energy crashes, and feeling wired but tired at bedtime. The sleep debt accumulation. Irregular sleep schedules often lead to chronic sleep debt, where you're constantly trying to catch up on missed sleep by sleeping in on weekends or days off. However, this catch-up sleep doesn't actually restore the cognitive function and emotional regulation that consistent quality sleep provides. ADHD brains are particularly vulnerable to sleep debt because we need more sleep than neurotypical individuals to maintain optimal cognitive function. When you accumulate sleep debt through irregular schedules, you're essentially running your already challenged brain on insufficient fuel, making every ADHD symptom more severe. The medication timing disruption. If you take ADHD medications, irregular sleep schedules can significantly interfere with how well your medication works. Stimulant medications are most effective when taken at consistent times relative to your sleep-wake cycle, and irregular sleep patterns can cause your medication to feel less effective or produce more side effects. Your brain's sensitivity to medication also varies based on your circadian rhythm and sleep quality from the previous night. Poor or irregular sleep can make you more sensitive to side effects like anxiety, irritability, or appetite suppression, while also reducing the medication's positive effects on focus and attention. The consistent schedule. Solution: choose a bedtime and wake time that you can maintain 7 days a week, including weekends and days off. This might require some compromise between your natural preferences and social obligations, but consistency is more important than the exact timing. Start by gradually shifting your current schedule by 15 to 30 minutes earlier each night until you reach your target bedtime. This gradual approach helps your circadian rhythm adjust without the shock of sudden changes that can worsen sleep problems. Set multiple alarms and reminders to help you stick to your schedule, especially in the beginning when it feels unnatural. Use bright light exposure immediately upon waking and dim lighting in the evening to reinforce your new rhythm. Plan your evening routine to end at your target bedtime, working backwards from that time to ensure you have enough time for all necessary activities without rushing or staying up late. The third sleep habit that's making your ADHD symptoms dramatically worse is consuming caffeine after 2 p.m., including coffee, tea, energy drinks, chocolate, and even some medications that contain caffeine. This habit is incredibly common among people with ADHD who are trying to maintain focus and energy throughout the day, but it's creating a vicious cycle of poor sleep and worsening daytime symptoms. The ADHD caffeine paradox. People with ADHD often use caffeine as a form of self-medication because it can temporarily improve focus and attention by increasing dopamine and norepinephrine availability in the brain. However, caffeine has a much longer half-life than most people realize. It takes 6 to 8 hours for your body to eliminate half of the caffeine you consume, and traces can remain in your system for up to 12 hours. This means that coffee consumed at 2 p.m. is still affecting your brain at 8 to 10 p.m., directly interfering with your ability to fall asleep at a reasonable time. For people with ADHD, who already struggle with delayed sleep onset and irregular circadian rhythms, this caffeine interference can be particularly devastating. The sleep architecture disruption. Even when caffeine doesn't prevent you from falling asleep, it significantly disrupts your sleep architecture, the natural progression through different sleep stages that's essential for brain restoration and memory consolidation. Caffeine reduces the amount of deep sleep you get, which is the most restorative sleep stage for ADHD brains. Deep sleep is when your brain clears out metabolic waste, consolidates memories, and restores neurotransmitter balance. When caffeine disrupts this process, you wake up feeling unrefreshed even if you technically got enough hours of sleep, and your ADHD symptoms are worse the next day because your brain didn't get the restoration it needed. The tolerance and dependence cycle. Regular caffeine use, especially later in the day, creates tolerance where you need increasingly more caffeine to achieve the same cognitive benefits. This leads to a cycle where you consume more caffeine to compensate for poor sleep, which worsens your sleep quality, which makes you need more caffeine the next day. Many people with ADHD develop caffeine dependence without realizing it, experiencing withdrawal symptoms like headaches, irritability, and severe brain fog when they try to reduce their intake. These withdrawal symptoms can temporarily worsen ADHD symptoms, making it feel like caffeine is necessary for basic functioning. The anxiety and jitters problem. Afternoon and evening caffeine consumption can increase anxiety, restlessness, and jitteriness. That's particularly problematic for people with ADHD who already struggle with hyperactivity and emotional regulation. This caffeine-induced anxiety can persist for hours, making it difficult to relax and prepare for sleep. The combination of caffeine and ADHD medications can also amplify side effects like increased heart rate, elevated blood pressure, and heightened anxiety, creating an uncomfortable state of overstimulation that directly interferes with sleep quality. The strategic caffeine solution limits all caffeine consumption to before 2 p.m., and ideally before noon if you're particularly sensitive to caffeine's effects. This gives your body enough time to metabolize the caffeine before bedtime, while still allowing you to benefit from its focus-enhancing effects during the day. If you currently consume caffeine later in the day, gradually reduce your intake by replacing afternoon coffee with decaffeinated alternatives, herbal teas, or other beverages. Sudden caffeine elimination can cause withdrawal symptoms that temporarily worsen ADHD symptoms, so a gradual approach is more sustainable. Focus your caffeine consumption in the morning when it can support your natural cortisol rhythm and help with morning alertness. Consider timing your caffeine intake to complement your ADHD medication rather than compete with it. Now that you understand the 3 habits that are destroying your ADHD sleep and worsening your symptoms, let me give you a complete sleep optimization protocol that will dramatically improve both your sleep quality and your daytime cognitive function. The 90-minute wind-down routine. Create a consistent 90-minute pre-sleep routine that begins at the same time every night, regardless of when you actually want to fall asleep. This routine should progressively calm your nervous system and prepare your brain for rest through a series of relaxing activities. Start your wind-down routine by dimming all lights in your environment and switching to warm, amber lighting. This signals to your brain that it's time to start producing melatonin naturally. Avoid overhead lighting and use table lamps or candles instead. Engage in calming activities that don't require intense focus or problem solving. This could include gentle stretching, reading fiction, journaling about positive experiences from the day, doing simple crafts, or practicing relaxation techniques like progressive muscle relaxation. The sleep environment optimization. Create a bedroom environment that supports optimal sleep for your ADHD brain. Keep your room temperature between 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, as people with ADHD are often more sensitive to temperature fluctuations that can disrupt sleep. Eliminate all sources of light and sound that could interfere with sleep. Use blackout curtains or eye masks to block external light, and consider white noise machines or earplugs to mask disruptive sounds. Even small amounts of light or intermittent noise can significantly impact ADHD sleep quality. Remove all electronic devices from your bedroom, including phones, tablets, televisions, and even digital alarm clocks with bright displays. Use a traditional analog alarm clock instead and charge your devices in another room to eliminate the temptation to check them during the night. The morning light exposure protocol. Immediately upon waking, expose yourself to bright light for at least 15-30 minutes to reinforce your circadian rhythm and support a natural melatonin regulation. This is particularly important for people with ADHD, whose circadian rhythms are often delayed or irregular. If possible, get outside in natural sunlight within the first hour of waking, even on cloudy days. Natural light is much more effective than artificial light for regulating your internal clock. If outdoor light exposure isn't possible, use a light therapy box designed for circadian rhythm regulation. Combine morning light exposure with gentle physical activity like walking or stretching to further reinforce your wake signal and promote alertness throughout the day. The gradual implementation approach. Don't try to change all three habits simultaneously, as this can be overwhelming and lead to abandoning the entire plan. Start with the habit that's most prominent in your current routine. For most people, this is screen use before bed. Week 1. Focus solely on eliminating screens 2 hours before bedtime. Replace this time with 1 or 2 calming activities that you enjoy. Expect some difficulty falling asleep initially as your brain adjusts to the lack of stimulation. Week 2. Add consistent sleep and wake times to your routine. Choose times that work with your schedule and stick to them every day, including weekends. Use alarms and reminders to help maintain consistency. Week 3. Address your caffeine consumption by gradually reducing afternoon and evening intake. Replace caffeinated beverages with herbal teas or other non-stimulating alternatives. Common challenges and solutions. Many people worry that eliminating evening screen time will make them feel bored or anxious. This initial discomfort is normal and typically resolves within 1-2 weeks as your brain adjusts to the new routine. Have alternative activities planned to fill this time productively. If you use your phone as an alarm clock, invest in a traditional alarm clock and keep your phone charging in another room. This eliminates the temptation to check your phone if you wake up during the night. For people who work irregular schedules or have family obligations that make consistent bedtimes challenging, focus on maintaining the same sleep duration and wind-down routine, even if the exact timing varies slightly. Tracking your progress. Keep a simple sleep log that tracks your bedtime, wake time, how long it took to fall asleep, and how rested you felt in the morning. Also note your ADHD symptoms throughout the day to identify correlations between sleep quality and cognitive function. Most people notice improvements in sleep quality within the first week of implementing these changes, with significant improvements in daytime ADHD symptoms appearing within 2 to 3 weeks of consistent implementation. If this video has opened your eyes to how your current sleep habits might be making your ADHD symptoms worse every single day, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on. I create evidence-based content specifically for people with ADHD who want to optimize their sleep and cognitive function using strategies that work with their unique brain wiring. Share this video with anyone you know who has ADHD and struggles with sleep problems or worsening symptoms. They might have no idea that their bedtime habits are the primary cause of their daytime struggles. I want to know in the comments, which of these 3 sleep habits do you recognize in your own routine? And which one are you most committed to changing starting tonight? Also, have you noticed connections between your sleep quality and your ADHD symptoms the next day? Remember, improving your ADHD symptoms through better sleep isn't about forcing yourself to follow rigid rules. It's about understanding how your unique brain works and creating sleep conditions that support rather than sabotage your natural rest and recovery processes. You deserve to wake up feeling refreshed and ready to tackle your day with clear focus and stable energy. Your ADHD brain has incredible potential when it's properly rested and restored. These 3 simple changes to your sleep habits could be the key to unlocking dramatically better cognitive function, emotional regulation, and overall quality of life starting tomorrow morning.